That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Celebrate the soul of the holidays and support Altadena and Pasadena. Join us on Monday, December 15th, 7 p.m. inside the Bram Goldsmith Theater at the Wallace in Beverly Hills for Soul of the Holidays, a joyful night of Motor City Soul, gospel, and holiday classics featuring an 18-piece band, all-star vocalist, and community choirs, all in support of the Black LA Relief and Recovery Fund. This performance comes at a pivotal time for many in Altadena and Pasadena. This is their first holiday season since the devastating Altadena Eden Canyon fire, which destroyed homes and community spaces. While the physical losses are immense, the power of community remains, and your attendance directly supports recovery, resilience, and renewal. So, be sure to join us Monday, December 15th, 7 p.m. inside the Bram Goldsmith Theater at the Wallace in Beverly Hills for Soul of the Holidays, benefiting survivors of the Altadena Eden Canyon fire. For ticket information, just log on to tickets@thewallace.org. That's tickets@thewallace.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580 and the Black Freedom Fund.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent, right here with you in afternoon drive time. You are listening to A More Perfect Union, and I couldn't think of a more perfect start of the week to join you. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ. There I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app if you haven't. If you're sitting next to your neighbor in afternoon drive time, tap your neighbor on the shoulder and ask them if they have downloaded the KBLA app. If not, run, don't walk to do so. Last but not least, subscribe to a More Perfect Union podcast. That way you won't miss some of our best episodes. Now, listen, it's time for you to decide the good, bad, and the ugly headlines of the day. One of the big questions that's on the minds of so many folks is she or isn't she going to run? Referring to Jasmine Crockett, Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas says that she is, quotes, closer to yes than no, as reported by our friends over at the GRIO when it comes to a potential 2026 U.S. Senate run. And a new poll shows her leading the Democratic pack in Texas. There's a source that told me that we should hear a final decision by December 8th. That is about a week away. And so a lot of folks out there looking to Jasmine Crockett to run statewide in Texas. We're going to see how that shakes out, but a lot of people are wondering. And another Black woman in the news, Megan Thee Stallion, has won her defamation suit against a blogger. NBC News is reporting that a federal jury sided with Megan Thee Stallion and agreed that a blogger defamed and harassed the rapper, but limited damages to less than 6 figures. The federal panel of 5 men and 4 women came down in favor of Megan, the artist born Megan Pete, in her lawsuit against blogger Milagro Grams, whose real name is Milagro Cooper. Now, the suit was over material that Cooper posted after R&B musician Tory Lanez shot Megan 5 years ago. Juries initially awarded Megan $75,000, which a U.S. district judge had knocked down to $59,000. She declined to answer any questions from reporters as she left the court, but Cooper didn't appear to be particularly pleased or distressed by the panel's finding. Cooper said, quotes, "I'm not ecstatic. Of course you want things to go your way, but like I said, I respect the jury and what they decided." Her attorney, Jeremy McLamont, said that he's grateful that jurors didn't award 7 digits of damages. And Megan accused Cooper of being a mouthpiece, a puppet, and a paid surrogate for Lanez, who shot her in L.A. on July 15th, 2020. And so, look, clean slate, hopefully for all parties involved. It sounds like this blogger knew that the damages could have been way more significant, and they weren't. And Megan Thee Stallion got another major win in court. And so, we wish them well. We wish them both well in whatever it is they choose to do next. When we come forward, we're switching gears. I'm delighted to bring back an encore conversation with Michael Harriot. You know who Michael Harriot is? Michael Harriot is the author of a book that has really been getting a lot of attention, rightfully so. It's a Black AF history of the United States. And I'm just going to say it's extra Black. When we come forward, don't miss my conversation with Michael Harriot. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hey, nice job, Pete. I like those clean lines. Fellas, do we have anyone that can get to Greenport today?
At Corey's Landscaping, the staffing plan is in the weeds.
Anthony, we need that leaf blower over here.
3 more new customer requests just came in.
Who wants to work some overtime?
He needs to dig up quality landscapers and fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
We all have regrets. That haircut, that text, missing out on Cole's Cyber Days. Good news, you can fix at least one of those. Get up to 50% off gifts for everyone on your list. Sunday and Monday only at Kohl's. From cozy favorites to top toys, you've got 2 days until you miss out. Don't let Cyber Days be the sale that got away. Save at Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Select styles. Offer ends December 1st. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 remembers Robin Ayers on the 1-year anniversary of her passing. 1 year ago this week, we lost a remarkable and vibrant voice. Robin Ayers touched countless lives through her passion, her love, her service, and her smile, which you could see through the radio. KBLA Talk 1580 honors her memory and celebrates the legacy she left behind. Robin, your spirit lives on in every conversation, in every connection, and in every one of us, inspired by your voice. Gone, but never forgotten. KBLA Talk 1580, where voices matter.
I'm missing you. Tell me why the road turns. I'm missing you. Tell me why the road turns.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. As we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to welcome Michael Harriot to the show. For those of you who may not be as familiar, Michael Harriot is New York Times best-selling author of Black AF History. If you're streaming us, I'm holding the book up right here. It's Black AF History, the unwhitewashed story of America. And Michael's also the founder of digital journalism collective, contrabandcamp.com. You should absolutely check it out. The winner of a number of awards, political commentator on MSNBC and CNN, among other outlets. And we are delighted that you have joined us here today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. First things first, before we get into your book, which I think creates a lot of context to help us understand the present, I've got to get your immediate reaction to this shutdown agreement. A lot of folks, as I mentioned at the top of the show, particularly Democrats, are still smoldering over the fact that 9 Democrats in the Senate voted for this. They gave up their leverage in an effort to open up the government, make sure that federal workers were getting the pay that they were due, even the back pay, that SNAP benefits were going to begin to flow again. They sort of gave up the leverage for those things. Will Democrats regret this in the 2026 election cycle?
So I think it's still to be seen. I've covered politics for a number of years, and on Contraband Camp, I wrote about and talked about today that I learned while covering politics that there's a difference between politics and governance, and I think this whole shutdown conversation is centered around politics, the sport of who's got the most seats in the House and who's going to win in this district and who's going to win in the presidential election. And in covering politics for so many years, I learned like stuff like this, like a government shutdown. People never remember it. When they go to the polls, it doesn't affect voters, right? Because we forget so easily. And so what I like to talk about when I talk about things like this is governance and not politics. So there was a way, the shutdown was one way that a group of politicians, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, could create a situation where we extend the Obamacare tax care credits, right? They kick in on January 1st. We still got more. That wasn't the only way. And so what we as a people have to do as Americans, whether you're on the right or the left, is to push the representatives who we elect to ensure that these tax credits will extend, because like it would be crazy for me as a person who lives in rural Georgia to think that I could wield power looking through the lens of politics over a man in Maine and a man in New Hampshire and a governor and a senator from Illinois, that he was thinking about Michael Harriot in rural Illinois. What we have to do is stop looking at it through that lens of politics as the sport of who wins and who loses. And what do we achieve? How are we going to make healthcare affordable by January 1st?
Do you think we're gonna meet the moment there? I mean, I don't think a lot of folks out there are optimistic. Again, at the top of the show, I mentioned that there's a poll that was recently conducted here in California. The LA Times reporting that Californians are overwhelmingly concerned about the cost of healthcare, and most want better access to mental health services. They want lower out-of-pocket costs. That's certainly not unique to California. This is something that so many of our fellow Americans, our friends and neighbors, are feeling. But after that vote, and maybe it's the way it got communicated, maybe it's the fact that it felt like a surrender to so many people. What should give us any confidence that the folks that are governing are going to meet the moment on one of the most essential needs of the people, healthcare?
So think about this, right? So before this shutdown, there was a side arguing for the Medicare, to the extension of the Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act tax extensions. And then the other side that said, forget that. And after this shutdown, or since this shutdown, or since it happened, first of all, everybody, even the political novices, know that their tax credit and their health care is going to go up on January 1st unless this government does something about it. Even Republicans constituents are facing that same fact, and they're feeling heat from their constituents. So that's one thing that this shutdown did. It also lets everybody know that we have a month and a half to do something about it, right? I don't think if there was not a government shutdown and our tax credits would have expired, I don't think that people would have understood why they expired. I think if we try to just pound this over and over for the next 11 months, I don't think that we could get that message through. I think that the only way that people are going to get tax care credits is not because of a government shutdown. Is because Democrats and Republicans, according to polling, according to the data, care about this issue. And now the Republicans and the Democrats are confronting the fact that their constituents are mad about an issue that they have forgotten.
But and as I listen to that, I mean, I think you make a number of really important points. But it's hard for me to look past the fact that these are the same Republicans that have voted dozens of times to try and kill Obamacare, that have won election after election after election without a plan. They talk about repeal and replace, but there's nothing that they have to replace it with. I mean, even Nora O'Donnell had put this question to the president during a recent CBS interview, and he didn't have a plan. He didn't have a plan. And so
I agree with you, but this is the thing, right? Republicans could have killed Obamacare already, right? They've had control of the Senate. They could have killed the filibuster. They've introduced resolutions. They could have put it in the big beautiful bill. Like, they have had the means to kill Obamacare. Reconciliation only requires a number of votes. That's how we got the Obamacare in the first place, right? Like, it was through reconciliation, which required only a majority. They've had the majority to kill Obamacare. They don't want to kill it, right? They want to talk about killing it. That's their platform. We are going to demonize this thing because it's got that name Obamacare on it. They do not want to kill Obamacare because they know their constituents use it. I think a poll came out through KFF and another source that showed, like, most of the people on who get the Affordable Care Act are actually Republicans, right? So Republicans and MAGA Republicans outnumber Democrats who received the Affordable Care Act. So they don't want to kill that. They want to talk about killing it so they can get elected in those really, really, really conservative, well-to-do districts. But they know who their constituents are: low-educated white voters who hate Obamacare, but they don't know that Affordable Care Act ain't the same thing as Obamacare, right? So they can talk about killing it, but they ain't gonna kill it.
And so let's apply the same logic to the filibuster. And one of the things I love about your book, Black AF History: The Unwhitewashed Story of America, is that you get into, sort of the history from an unapologetic Black perspective, about, a number of these devices that have been used, to keep us from the full freedom that we are entitled to. Talk to us about the filibuster. And for folks that are streaming and that are listening that may be unfamiliar with the history of the filibuster and the freedom of Black people.
So filibuster, first of all, I think no one ever talks about, like, filibusters. The original filibusters were these white guys who were trying to establish slave colonies outside of America. Aaron Burr was actually tried because he was trying to establish a filibuster colony in Nicaragua. There's a bunch of famous cases. The guys who planned the Lincoln assassination, the Knights of the Golden Circle, were actual filibusters. And so that mode of filibustering, of preventing, was created in the 1800s to give slaveholding states power and to prevent, the elimination of slavery, to keep the northern states or non-slaveholding states because the non-slaveholding states, the northern states, whether you talk about the West, they were more populous. And so the filibuster preserved the right of those slaveholding states to prevent democracy, essentially, right? They couldn't enact legislation by simple majority. It's not in the Constitution. It's not anywhere in any American law. It's just like some rules that some white dudes made up to prevent power. And over this 2 centuries, right, we have been holding on to this thing, knowing how it was created, knowing why it was created, knowing that there's no law that governs it. And we've just been like, hey, yeah, I mean, let them do that. And it's a crazy thing to me. And when you look at it without knowing that, for instance, that it's existed for 200 years, you'd be like, yeah, well, why can they? That's not a democracy if all of a sudden you can decide when you need a supermajority, right? And so I think what this book does and what I try to do is look at things objectively from a holistic point of view, not under the tent of tradition or what you learned in school. And some of the things that we think we know just totally don't make sense when you scratch beneath the surface.
Well, we're going to keep scratching when we come forward. We're talking about Michael's book, his best-selling book, New York Times best-selling book, Black AF History, the Unwhitewashed Story of America. Speaking of, white dudes making stuff up, I want to talk a little bit about immigration and some of the history of immigration in this country. In the chapter entitled Construction, page 191 in the book, you talk about the radical Republicans proposing the Wade Davis bill, which said that in order for a state to be readmitted to the Union, it would need to institute a ban on slavery in its constitution and have a majority of its voters take an oath of allegiance. Where did this get us? How does this apply to this moment? More with Michael Harriet when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A judge has reduced the bond for Sterling Williams, the Orleans Parish Jail employee accused of helping 10 Black men escape by cutting off water so they could remove a toilet and slip through a wall. His bond dropped from over $1 million to $86,000, according to court records. Maryland's Black Governor Wes Moore says all of Maryland is lifting up the family of Specialist Sarah Buckstrom, who was killed in last week's shooting in Washington, D.C., alongside Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, who remains hospitalized. And civil rights attorney Fred Gray says the country is slipping backward as we mark 70 years since the Montgomery, Alabama bus protest. Gray, who represented Rosa Parks and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., told the Montgomery Advertiser that many issues facing Black Americans remain. The 95-year-old says he still practices law daily. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In Universal City, a crash on the southbound 101 as you come up to Vineland. They're blocking the carpool lane. It's pretty slow here already. This one not helping out too much. Lots of yellow from all the way back at Haskell. In Glendale, a crash on the westbound 134 has the left lane blocked at San Fernando. And in Hacienda Heights, a car is conked out on the westbound 60 just after Hacienda, blocking a center lane. It's not holding things up too much. It's green as you come off of the 605.
Families have been loving LifeSource Whole House Water Systems for over 40 years. And now when you buy LifeSource, you can save up to $1,000 with the no sales tax special. Call 800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com. Ends December 31st. Warranty limitations apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Despite losing at Carolina Sunday, the Rams are 9-3 and tied with the Chicago Bears for the best record in the NFC. Before Sunday's loss, Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford had thrown 318 consecutive passes without an interception. Stafford still leads the NFL with 32 touchdown passes. Multiple sources are reporting that Bob Chesney of James Madison University will be UCLA's next head football coach. Sources claim Chesney and UCLA have been discussing a 5-year contract. James Madison is 11-1 this season. Chesney is expected to be confirmed for the UCLA job after James Madison plays Troy on Saturday for the Sun Belt Conference Championship. HBCU Southern University introduced Pro Football Hall of Fame running back Marshall Faulk Monday morning as their new head coach. Faulk was the running backs coach at Colorado with Deion Sanders. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Celebrate the soul of the holidays and support Altadena and Pasadena. Join us on Monday, December 15th, 7 p.m. inside the Bram Goldsmith Theater at the Wallace in Beverly Hills for Soul of the Holidays, a joyful night of Motor City soul, gospel, and holiday classics featuring an 18-piece band, all-star vocalist, and community choirs, all in support of the Black LA Relief and Recovery Fund. This performance comes at a pivotal time for many in Altadena and Pasadena. This is their first holiday season since the devastating Altadena Eden Canyon fire, which destroyed homes and community spaces. While the physical losses are immense, the power of community remains, and your attendance directly supports recovery, resilience, and renewal. So, be sure to join us Monday, December 15th, 7 p.m. inside the Graham Goldsmith Theater at the Wallace in Beverly Hills for Soul of the Holidays, benefiting survivors of the Altadena Eden Canyon fire. For ticket information, just log on to tickets@thewallace.org. That's tickets@thewallace.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580 and the Black Freedom Fund.
Head to the Skirball Cultural Center for a thought-provoking contemporary art exhibition, Draw Them In, Paint Them Out. Trenton Doyle Hancock confronts Philip Guston. Explore resonant connections between the work of American Jewish painter Philip Guston and the work of Trenton Doyle Hancock, a leading Black American contemporary artist, in dialogue for the first time. While engaging with the artwork, consider the role that artists play in the pursuit of social justice. Plan your visit at skirball.org. Unwrap LA this winter with Metro. Whether you're heading to a family gathering or last-minute shopping, Metro's got you. Enjoy free rides across Metro on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Move with joy. Move with community this holiday season. Go Metro.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me!
National news of consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
History, yep, the unwhitewashed story of America. He's also the founder of digital journalism collective contrabandcamp.com. I've really enjoyed thumbing through this book, Michael. I think it's a great reference for the young and old and everybody in between. There are so many stories here that make you go, huh? Or I didn't really think about it that way. It really helps us to widen the lens. Talk to us about the origin story of this book. What inspired you to put this work of art together?
So, yeah, I talk about in the book, and I talk about, often that I was homeschooled for the first part of my educational career. And so I started a few years ago, more than a decade ago, I started putting these long threads on Twitter with history. Like, now it didn't happen that way. This is actually how it happened. And most of it would be about Black history. And so I used to teach a class called Race as an Economic Construct. I'm actually an economist. So I used to teach a university class called Race as an Economic Construct. And I was thinking of writing a book about it. And I pitched the book and everyone loved the idea, but every publisher said, yeah, but hey, what about that history stuff you do? And so the 1-book deal became a 2-book deal. And then we decided to flip the order of the books, because this was funny, because when I first pitched the book, the subtitle was about a subject that I had studied, and they said nobody had ever heard of it because the subtitle was Toward a More Critical Race Theory. And they said nobody's ever heard of this critical race theory stuff. So let's do the history book first. And then now everybody's talking about critical race theory. But so that was the origin story of the book, to talk about how the true history of America has been whitewashed, and to unwhitewash it and give people more to think about, not just like a counter narrative to white history, but a narrative that puts Black people in the center.
That is a really important point. It is very much in the tradition of authors like Toni Morrison. I mean, just to think that in our lifetime, that doing just that, completely radical in the publishing industry.
Yeah, I think so, because I think, one, I always say, like, there are a bunch of books that talk about America from the white perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are a bunch of books that talk about America to contradict the white perspective,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there is no book that talks about America from the perspective of Black people. Like, they'll talk about like Zachary Taylor. Nobody cared about Zachary Taylor. Nobody cared about what, like, one of the things I talk about in the book is like when the Revolutionary War started out, Black people didn't care about who was on each side. Like, they didn't care about independence or the tyranny of King George. They saw this our opportunity to get free. It was just like white on white violence to them. And we were like, which side is going to affect our freedom more? And that's the thing that this book does, like, looks at America, not through the lens of the history that we already know, but the untold parts of history that we whitewashed out of our history or that we totally ignored.
Yeah. And speaking of history that folks may have ignored, you talk about the Reconstruction period. And you share a bit of history that I think some of our leaders, learners, and listeners may be less familiar with or unfamiliar with. You talk about how the radical Republicans back then, how they proposed this thing called the Wade-Davis Bill, which said that in order for a state to be readmitted to the Union, it would need to institute a ban on slavery in the Constitution and have a majority of its voters take an oath of allegiance. Yet, after the Wade-Davis bill passed the House and the Senate, President Lincoln refused to sign it. Always the moderate, he proposed a more lenient idea. His 10% plan required 1/10 of states' voting population to take the ironclad oath. Are we still haunted by that decision that President Lincoln made? Would we be a more perfect union if he signed that Wade-Davis bill into law?
Yeah, I think so, because I think his leniency, and we remember after President Lincoln is killed, right? His vice president Johnson took over, and he just said, "I'm just going to pardon all the Confederates," right? So he issued blanket pardons to Confederates, and that is what started the violence of Reconstruction. Remember, in states like South Carolina, which is the perfect example, South Carolina was a majority Black state, right? And so that violence is what prevented, when Ta-Nehisi Coates talks about we were 7 years and we were 8 years in power, right? He's talking about the period where Black people had actual power after Reconstruction until what they called those redeemers gained back power through violence. So think about this. America had never had a free, public, mandatory, constitutionally enforced education system until Black people invented it. Literally, we invented this education system. There was no Department of Education until Black people invented it. There was no Department of Justice until Black people invented it, right, to stop clan violence. So their violent clawback of power is what, using the lost cause, is what doomed this country, right? In the election of 1876, they essentially overturned a presidential election, and the compromise of 1877 is what gave us Jim Crow, right? And so we wouldn't have all of this. We wouldn't need a Civil Rights Act. We had created the democracy. Like, when people say, well, America's never been a democracy. Yeah, it was a little for a couple years, right? And they took it back. They made it great again for them, right? And that's what we're seeing now. So we don't learn these lessons, so we're doomed to repeat them.
And so, Michael, I mean, just as you're sharing that, you know, I'm having a flashback of just last week where we saw moderates in the United States Senate say, "Hey, you know, we're gonna take your pinky promise, and in hopes that we can actually do something serious about lowering the cost of healthcare for everyday Americans." Are moderate? How much are moderates a part of the challenges that are ailing America today? So much of the Biden-Harris agenda was on the other side of blowing up the filibuster. You know, there's so many things they wanted to do, but they couldn't get to that 60 vote threshold. You know, is it the filibuster that's the problem? Is it the moderates that are the problem in terms of unlocking the future that so many of us, Democrat, Republican, Independent, everything in between, believe we deserve?
I think so. Moderate is an undefinable thing, right? I think we use that word because of an uncomfortable truth. What you're talking about is white people. If there was a party that didn't cater to the sentiments of white people who get the heebie-jeebies when we talk about reparations, who get, you know, a little uncomfortable when we talk about tech, who are progressive, except like, yeah, stuff has been a little bit too woke, and you know that history might make my children cry, and like all of that stuff that you're talking about that falls under the umbrella of moderate is just white people. And so when we talk about moderate, they're like, Black people have been the most moderate people in this country, right? When you think about it, right? Because of all the things that have done to us, we have moderated our feelings, we have moderated our progression. There is no group in America who has taken as much as Black people have taken and not enacted violence on the people who have enacted violence upon them. Right? We saw what white people did when they thought their votes were stolen. Right? So let's do away with that moderate stuff, right? Let's call it what it is if we're going to be talking about the truth. And what we're seeing is, I mean, think about who the people who took that pinky swear represented. Maine, New Hampshire, right? Places where they don't have to answer to Black people. And that is the thing that we have to, because of the big tent necessity of the Democratic Party, that is the thing that we have to reckon with. That we need a coalition, a multiracial coalition, to fight the white nationalist party. And in part, we have to, I think the Democratic Party feels like they have to cater to moderates. Now, the truth is they really don't, because those people never come over to the Democratic side. Those people who they're catering to never end up voting for Democrats. And if they do, it's not because of the stuff that we think gives them the heebie-jeebies, right? Like, just think about the landslide that Obama had, and most white people didn't vote for him, right? And so we have to acknowledge the thing, like, that's why I kind of cringe when we talk about politics, because it ain't a political moderate and a political extremist. Like, Black people aren't extremists. Like, the most radical thing Black people can ever think is for you to treat us like white people, right? That's called radical, right? I should be allowed to have all of the things that are due to me as an American citizen. As a Black person is considered radical. That is the most moderate thing in this country, right? That is a true moderate. And so I think when we're talking about these political divisions, we're talking about a group of people who have been ostracized and excluded from what we consider the rights that are due to an American citizen, right? And now this division is coming back to haunt them. I'm working on a piece about like what white people are feeling consternation about, even on the moderate Democratic side now. It's just like America treating them like they see America, how America treats like Black people, like all that stuff we see ICE doing. America did that to black people in black neighborhoods every day. They're doing it today. They're doing it tomorrow. All of that stuff that we see about stripping people of SNAP benefits, like they have been talking about black people in that same way. We have been denied health care. We have been ostracized from the voting process. All of that stuff that we're talking about, it's a fascist regime now we have lived under for all of our existence in America. And now that white people are being treated in a small way like black people, like you can't say some stuff around this president because they'll come and get you and everybody will be mad at you. Black people been like that. Like when you go to work, you can't talk like you talk to a room, like to your grandmother who got the Holy Ghost, right? That is the thing that this country has to reckon with.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And look, we can't heal what we don't talk about.
Right.
And this book, Black AF History, the Unwhitewashed Story of America, gives us plenty to talk about. Michael, I'm going to ask you to stick with us just for a little bit longer. When we come forward, it's time for the quiet part out loud. And I want to give Michael a chance to cook. The professor in me loves assigning homework, meaningful homework, not busy work, but homework nonetheless. Chapter 16 of this book is dedicated to homework. And so leaders, learners, and listeners, stay tuned because Michael has some homework for all of us when we come forward. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Striving to make America as good as this promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Days after the Eaton fire devastated entire neighborhoods in Pasadena and Altadena, Black Freedom Fund, an organization that invests in leaders and organizations transforming Black communities, established the Black LA Relief and Recovery Fund. The Black LA Relief and Recovery Fund is supporting local organizations, providing direct resources to families, and making sure that recovery reflects the needs and voices of the people who live there. For many, the journey to rebuild is just beginning, and the Black Freedom Fund is committed to being with them every step of the way. Stand with Dina. Donate by texting Black LA to the number 707070. That's Black LA to 707070. Together, we can help our neighbors rebuild their homes, lives, and hope. The Black Freedom Fund is proud to sponsor Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and our thanks to Michael Harriot for joining us here on A More Perfect Union. Remember to check out his book, his best-selling book, Black AF History. It's a great read. It's a great read, and it's a reminder, that for every narrative, there is a counter narrative. And I think at a time where you see folks sort of offering narratives that may not be rooted in truth, may not be rooted in facts, I think it's important that we are more rigorous in our exploration of our history. Because there are forces out there that would not be so invested in erasing our history and distorting our history and perverting our history if they didn't think that there was some power to be derived from doing so. And so I salute Michael Harriot for the account of history through in his view, a more honest lens. And so you be the judge of that. So be sure to check out his book, Black AF History. It's also worth noting that it is the holiday season. And for our friends and neighbors in Altadena and Pasadena, and even the Pacific Palisades, this is going to be their first holiday season not in their homes. And so let's all be gentle with the folks that are still surviving that devastation, that are still getting on their feet, that are still in the very beginning stages of the rebuild effort. Let's not forget about them this holiday season, because here at KBLA, we certainly aren't forgetting about them. And so join us in celebrating the soul of the holidays in support of the Altadena and Pasadena fire survivors, Monday, December 15th at 7 p.m. at the Bram Goldsmith Theater at the Wallace. Soul of the holidays. It is a joyful night of Motor City Soul, gospel, and holiday classics. It's going to feature an 18-piece band, an all-star vocalist, and community choirs, all in support of the Black LA Relief and Recovery Fund, powered by KBLA Talk 1580, powered by the Black Freedom Fund. And so go ahead and go to KBLA1580.com to learn more and to register for this event. And if you know any Altadena or Pasadena fire survivors, let them know this is going on, and know that they are invited. They're invited. We're doing this because we made a commitment that we wouldn't forget about them. And so whether it's Soul of the Holidays or whether it's Conversations Live, Altadena Rising, hosted by my friend and brother, James Farr, every weekend here on KBLA 1580. It is our show of record, documenting the stories of folks who are like a phoenix rising from the ashes of the Eaton fire. Be sure to tune in there. But that's what this holiday season is all about. This holiday season is all about showing up for one another, extending ourselves in kindness to one another, appealing to the little kid in each and every one of us. That's what this season is all about. And so we're going to do our part around here. Last but not least, I mentioned this in the first hour. Today is World AIDS Day. And so for all of the folks among us that are living with HIV/AIDS, I'm thinking about them, and I hope you're also thinking about them. I hope you're thinking about the progress that we have made as a nation, the progress that we've made as a global community through advancements in research and medicine. It's not lost on me that as a 41-year-old man, that there was a time when, in my lifetime, when people received an HIV or AIDS diagnosis, that was almost the equivalent of getting a death certificate. And now the fact that there are more people that are able to live full, affirmed lives with HIV is nothing short of a miracle. And so while the White House has decided that they will not commemorate World AIDS Day, here at KBLA Talk 1580, we're doing exactly that. And we're doing it proudly because we believe in dignity for everyone. And we believe in science too. And we're grateful for the science that has kept so many more people alive and has given so many more people across this nation and around the world the hope that they so desperately needed. We celebrate the contributions of everyone in the public health arena and beyond that have had a part in making this a more perfect union by affirming the dignity of people living with HIV/AIDS. And so on that note, we say thank you to them. We also say thank you to all the folks that help to produce a more perfect union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, to our sound engineer, Brother Andy, to our show producers, Faraji, Art, and Journey, and of course, to each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners. We curate this show with you in mind. And as always, do what you can from where you are with what you have, but by all means, do something. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.